Mr. Speaker, this is my 28th year in Parliament. And I would like to thank those in the constituency of Northwest St. Elizabeth for the confidence they have continued to place in me, notwithstanding the trials and tribulations experienced under the previous administration. From 1997, no PNP Minister of Works has allocated any road in Northwest St. Elizabeth to be rehabilitated, even though the member from Eastern Westmoreland has been making continuous representations to his various colleagues, but nothing has been forthcoming. They have not even listened to you, Mr. MP. And you have to travel on it twice per week, and they haven't listened to you, although you have made representations to them on that road from Newmarket to Middle Quarters. Mr. You will see what takes place now under this administration. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to recognize the staff and students who are here from the Magotty High School. Let me begin my acknowledging also with gratitude the support of all stakeholders in the agricultural sector, the team at the ministry and RADA, the members of the agricultural boards, my agricultural advisory council, and other industry players. Mr. Speaker, in order to grow our economy, Jamaicans will need to embrace the understanding that agriculture has to be the pivotal industry. In this sectorial debate, I will outline some of the developments that this administration proposes to implement during this financial year. I'll also update you on the status of the projects proposed by the previous administration, which they claimed would have been the stimuli for developing the agricultural sector. But before that, Mr. Speaker, I just want to comment on some quotes made by the opposition spokesperson on agriculture. And the first quote he came out with, and I quote from him, "Medicine teaches us," because he's a medical doctor, "to first take a detailed history of the situation, then examine it thoroughly, after which we investigate and come to a diagnosis. This is then followed by treatment. It is this teaching that has caused me to seek to understand before seeking to be understood." Mr. Speaker, let me say, from this opening statement and the thread that runs through the vein of his speech indicates a number of things. And the first thing he needs is a course in Jamaica Agriculture History 101. In agriculture, you investigate before you examine. That's number one. He also said, want to advise him started in 1997 and has been going on over the years. He also says he's going to lead the charge in St. Ann Northwest with a revolving animal scheme because he feels it can work in Jamaica. Mr. Speaker, this scheme has been taking place in Jamaica for many years, so it is nothing to go and talk about. He says the agri-park concept has played a central role in restructuring the sector. Mr. Speaker, no restructuring has taken place. My uninformed peasant doctor needs to take the course in Agriculture, Structure and Development 104. His statement, which he says, we must no doubt eat what we grow and grow what we eat, but we need not stop there. We must export and process the rest. Sounds very familiar. Mr. Speaker, with the limited time to speak, I will only be able to give a brief outline of the numerous projects we intend to embark on this financial year in agriculture. Proposed projects. Organic farming. Mr. Speaker, the ministry has partnered with various organizations and stakeholders to have a number of farms certified as legitimate organic farms. From those identified, several of these farms have partially met the requirements to gain certification in this capacity.
Mr. Buchanan.
The
Mr. Buchanan.
Shift to
Mr. Speaker, yes, sir.
Mr. Buchanan, I do not recognize you to speak.
Okay, sir, I was
Have
just
a
saying
seat.
Mr. Hutchinson's guests are
And
leaving.
please do not continue to disrupt the session. And I'm not going to ask you again, Mr. Buchanan. I will go to the standing orders.
The paradigm shift to employ organic farming techniques has been growing tremendously and has several proven benefits. Organic farming eliminates the use of synthetic inputs such as fertilizer and pesticides and replaces nutrition with natural specific plant care practices that maintain and increase long-term soil fertility and prevents pests and diseases. In other words, the practice of organic farming will replenish the soil with nutrients, assist in the prevention of soil erosion, and, of course, aid the environment, thus mitigating the impact of climate change. Mr. Speaker, it is without a doubt that more and more consumers are appreciating the value of organically grown produce, and organic farmers are reaping many benefits because their produce fetches a higher price on the market. These benefits emanate from the fact that organic produce contains fewer pesticides and it is often fresher and healthier and has a longer shelf life. So far, we have identified several crops such as lettuce and other vegetables, onions, pepper, ginger, turmeric, that farmers are growing organically. These farmers are reaping tremendous yields and rewards, and I am therefore urging other farmers to emulate the organic techniques. Mr. Speaker, it is our intention to allocate a portion of the agro-parks to grow organic crops as well. As a start, 27 acres of land at the Planting Garden River Agro-Park in St. Thomas will be used to grow organic onions. In a compound in St. Elizabeth, ginger and turmeric are currently being organically grown. On another property in St. Elizabeth, land has been cleared for establishing 10 acres of organic onion, and they intend to expand that to 100 acres. Mr. Speaker, our overall target for this year is to increase the cultivation of organic produce by 150 acres. School gardens. Mr. Speaker, it is projected that 2 school gardens will be established in each RADA extension area throughout the island this financial year. This will amount to a total of 196 schools having school gardens. Our aim is to provide each school with tools and all the agricultural inputs to make them successful. The crops grown in the school gardens will be used in the school canteens to establish a breakfast program to assist our students. We hope to have all schools that have available lands start a school garden by the end of the next financial year. The Jamaica 4-H clubs will be partnering with RADA in the development of these school gardens. It is intended that these school gardens will not only serve to assist with providing produce for the breakfast program, but they will also facilitate the training of the students at the schools in the best practices in agriculture. These school gardens will also be used by the RADA extension officers as demonstration plots for the community farmers in the various extension areas. As we speak, extensive work is being carried out, and already principals, teachers, and students have bought into the school guard program and are ready and raring to start their gardening project. We are hoping that these school gardens will be sponsored by companies, past students association, PTAs, sporting agencies, and other stakeholders. Already, we have a few sponsors who have pledged their support. Mr. Speaker, this breakfast program is of vital importance to the students. And it is so because roughly 30% of the students who go to school hungry. And by 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, the brain goes dead. We're therefore emphasizing that a breakfast program is important for these children. Mr. Speaker, another program we have is the Posterity Tree Program. Mr. Speaker, under the Posterity Tree Program, fruit tree seedlings are to be provided to persons celebrating a special event or commemorating a special occasion. This may be a birthday, a wedding, an anniversary, a graduation, the first purchase of a special item, or your special day in Parliament, etc. A variety of seedlings will be sold at a minimal cost at the RADA offices in parishes. The planting of trees under this project is also geared towards addressing current issues with climate change. Mr. Speaker, we intend to re-establish farmers' markets in 4 locations throughout the island this year. Consumers and hotels have been calling for the re-establishment of these markets. They also assist in the marketing the farmers' produce when there is a glut. Mr. Speaker, agriculture in Jamaica has been driven mainly by the 260,000 plus farmers who have been producing crops without irrigation. Much respect to these special, hard-working entrepreneurs. These farmers still produce over 90% of the produce grown in Jamaica, We intend to assist them by establishing water harvesting projects. We intend to implement at least 12 of these projects this year. In order to achieve this, we will either create ponds or identify existing craters in which pond liners can be placed, thus creating water catchment facilities. We're also looking at repairing many of the catchment tanks throughout the island to assist farmers. The provision of the black water tank and drip hose will also continue to assist these farmers, not only in times of drought, but throughout the year. Mr. Speaker, many of these farmers have been supplying the hotels with various produce. However, they are unable to fill the demand of the hotels for many of these produce, such as Irish potato, onions, iceberg, lettuce, and cantaloupes. We intend to place special emphasis on the cultivation of these crops because the hotels provide a ready market for them. Implements. Mr. Speaker, it is our intention to reduce the cost of production of the farmers by assisting them with mechanical implements. The main crops being targeted in this regard are the tumors, where a mechanical reaper can cut the cost of reaping by approximately 33%, thereby putting more money in the pockets of the farmer. And one such reaper was demonstrated in Manchester 2 weeks ago. Herbal plants. We intend to expand the value chain of all herbal products. To this end, we are identifying areas in Manchester and St. Elizabeth to grow crops such as moringa, aloe vera, nopal cactus, Guinea hen weed, noni, etc. This is because there is a factory in St. Elizabeth that processes these items for health enhancement purposes. The processor is prepared to expand the facility as we increase the acreage in production of these crops. We intend to expand the production of these herbs by an additional 50 acres this year. Mr. Speaker, crop estimates. Mr. Speaker, crop production figures at present are what I've always called guesstimates, because they are submitted by extension officers who are in most cases unable to visit most of the farms, especially the larger farms, which may grow large acreages of a variety of crops. Those production figures are totally out of whack with actual production. Many people might disagree, but the fact is that currently there is an inadequate number of extension officers, and the allocation for their traveling allowances is also inadequate. Whenever there is a widespread disaster, the figures reported are even more preposterous. Estimates of damage are requested in many instances within 4 days of the damage. Estimates are given, but they bear no resemblance to the actual damage that has taken place. And I will give an example, Mr. Speaker. It was a couple of years ago, there was a hurricane, and we found out that the manager at a RADA office asked his extension officers to go and get the estimate of the damage. One of the extension officers came and told the manager that he had the damage in his extension area of 10 acres of carrot. The manager looked at him and says, that could not be so, because in your extension area, you don't grow 10 acres of carrot. So you couldn't have 10 acres of damage. He just said to him, all right, just cut that in half, and you will get the estimate. That is what I am saying, not even guesstimate, but it's juggling of figures. Mr. Speaker, we intend to investigate the possibility of using modern technology to provide a more accurate figure for crop production and for crop damage whenever there is a disaster. A relative accurate figure could be had within 3 days with the use of modern technology. And I remember, Mr. Speaker, when I now talk about technology, I remember that there was a little over there, I won't even say what, but someone over there who said when I spoke about putting chip in animals, he said I was a madman. No, not the late. Somebody who is in Parliament and he just left. I wish he was still here. And when I said it could work, the man turned around and said that I was Mr. Chippy because it couldn't work. Now I want him to understand chips are now just about everywhere in everything. So Mr. Chippy is on track. I suppose I've gone to Dr. Chippy. To get real-time information on critical areas like production volumes, proper disaster assessment, and the engaging of youth in agriculture, there are a number of proposals being considered. These include, 1, the use of Google's mapping capabilities to deliver aerial surveillance of the production areas in the country and send high-resolution pictures back to a central location for analysis. 2, you wouldn't understand. You still don't understand. It goes in the skin. It goes in the skin. Number 2, you wouldn't understand. You have a different cow to deal with. The employment of young people with, number 2, the employment of young people with a vested interest in farming within the farming communities and having them trained to become district extension officers within their respective communities, because the number of extension officers throughout the country is totally inadequate. Number 3, the use of drones. And I figure they are going to call me Mr. Droney too. There is a growing usage of drones across the developed and the developing world in a bid to gather real-time information at any given moment for any given purpose. Drones have been used in the United States for all manner of purposes, not least of which is agriculture data gathering to drive decision-making at the state and federal government levels. Drone technology is also very heavily used by farmers themselves in a drive to cut costs and to achieve a greater level of efficiency. The drones is the most cost-effective proposal. It is being proposed that if accepted, 3 drones be purchased which would be deployed for multi-purpose usages. These drones would be designed to capture high-resolution images that can be assessed, and they would be used for agriculture, including the fisheries division, where they would be able to identify poachers in Jamaican water. The Security Ministry could use them to monitor hotbed crime areas, sea borders, etc. Mr. Speaker, processing. The value chain is a vital component in the development of this sector. To this end, we'll be establishing 7 incubators throughout the island for the processing of food items. These incubators will be certified so that products could be exported directly from these facilities. Individuals or companies will be able to use these facilities for the processing of their produce. They will also be used for the training of persons in the value chain. Hard Trust NTA will be involved so that persons, after being trained, would be able to be employed in the hospitality or services industries, and would also be prepared to benefit from the employment opportunities in the overseas work permit. Mr. Speaker, one of these incubators is already established in St. James, and another will be finished by the end of October in St. Elizabeth. We also have, Mr. Speaker, at RADA office. Last week, we opened a cassava processing plant at Elam in St. Elizabeth to make cassava flour. I would like to thank and congratulate the Colombian government and the University of the West Indies for the establishing of that plant. Mr. Speaker, we are looking at the value chain. Abattoirs. Mr. Speaker, it is our intention to have 5 abattoirs built throughout the island. Within the next 3 years, in this regard, we will be able to implement a structured approach to the slaughtering of all animals for both the retail and wholesale trade. The establishment of these abattoirs would also facilitate the traceability of all animal products and support our animal health and food safety initiatives. One has already been built in Westmoreland. Mr. Speaker, we now come to agri-parks. The so-called agri-parks were hailed by the former Minister of Agriculture. And in last year's debate, he pronounced, and I quote, "The agri-parks remain the flagship program of the ministry to transform the sector and to demonstrate the sustainability of a value chain approach to agricultural development." I am proud to report that, consistent with our commitments, we have, as of March 2015, established 9 agri-parks. This is no small achievement. In a mere 2 years, ladies and gentlemen, this is a quote by the minister, you know. This is no small achievement. In a mere 2 years, he quotes, we have spent over 17 and 18 million to outfit 750 acres of land with modern infrastructure, he says, and for production, he says, and for processing and marketing, he says, end of quote. Mr. Speaker, what is the true status of these agri-parks? Now, I will briefly go through them quickly. The first one, the Plantain Garden River Park, is floundering. Farmers are operating from a hand-to-mouth system. There is no meaningful profit. 135 acres of the 290 acres are in production. A building was to be used for processing. Where is it? Amity Hall is limping along with a series of water woes. Of the 2,340 acres, only 250 acres are in production. And you're saying that this is driving production? Ebony Park is trying to crawl through the ticket. Of the 1,400 acres, only 275 acres under production. 370 acres are still in the bush. Spring Plain Parks, of the 1,400 acres, 1,400, only 47 acres in production. Mailersfield Park, the one that is up and running for over 2 years now. I went down there and looked. The equipment not in there yet, but it up and running. What it processing? Sweet River Park Abattoir. A few weeks ago, they had a trial run, just a few weeks ago. This one was supposed to have been in production also years ago. It was in Bush last month, and that it was in production. Mr. Speaker, Hill Run Park, the fishing village with half of the ponds down there as dry as chip. No water whatsoever in the ponds, and you say that them up and running? New Forest of House, of the 880 acres, only 241 acres in production, and most of this is privately owned. Yalas, most of these lands are privately owned, and of the 257 acres proposed for the park, only 20 acres under production. How much money? Mr. Speaker, these are the production areas which the former minister said were driving the production in the agricultural sector. In order to complete infrastructure, clearing of land, and upgrading of roads at these agri-parks, it will require another $460 million. Mr. Speaker, the agri-parks, and I say it with due respect and reservation, but it has to be said, the agri-parks are a colossal failure. They are a debacle of incompetence, mismanagement, and a lack of training of the farmers. There is no value chain facility, none. Farmers cry out for their crops to be marketed, and you say that they would be marketing their crops, and they are crying out for their crops to be marketed. The last expenditure of funds does not match the expended production outcome. Many questions are left unanswered with these agri-parks. The former minister, a mendacious individual. Production on these agri-parks have not been making a dent on the total crop production in the island. I believe the former minister would have to agree that his achievement was a very small scratch during his tenure at the Wicket in trying to develop the agricultural sector. Last year, the minister also stated that during 2015 and 2016 financial year, and I quote, we propose to undertake the following. Last year, undertake. Yes. He said, commence a new water supply system in Hill Run, extend Hounslow irrigation system, and construct farm roads, install an irrigation system at Spring Ground in St. Elizabeth. End of quote. Mr. Speaker, none of these activities started last year. None whatsoever. Mr. Speaker, we intend to implement these projects and more during this financial year. We also intend to employ one extension officer to oversee and provide technical advice to the farmers of New Forest of House, one to be employed to Yalas, and one to be employed to Spring Gardens, providing technical assistance to the farmers there. Mr. Speaker, a tractor was recently allocated to Colbeck Water Users Association for this association to start land preparation to plant roughly 120 acres of produce such as onion, pepper, pumpkin, etc. This is a production zone with 224 acres of land, with 184 acres in production, and the rest to be put into production as soon as the absentee owners can be identified. Mr. Speaker, the farmers who got crop damage or losses at the plant in Garden River Agro Park have been given herbicide. A tractor is going to start land preparation during this week, and seeds and seedlings will be given to the farmers within another 2 weeks. An extension officer will be assigned to the agro park to provide technical assistance to the farmers. Mr. Speaker, these farmers at Plantation Garden River have suffered. We intend to put these farmers on a growth sustainable path. We intend to provide Grace Kennedy Company Limited with 100 acres of land at Hounslow for farmers to provide the factory with peppers, scallion, and other types of produce. This production will start by the beginning of next year. Mr. Speaker, agroeconomic zones. Two of the main problems stifling the growth of agriculture in Jamaica are the lack of markets for farmers' crops and prix larceny. Agriculture in Jamaica is like the tentacles of an octopus. It lacks direction. In order to establish a proper structure, we have to start at the base with the farmer. I have been at pains to outline the structure for the development of the agricultural sector in Jamaica. The structure operates in the United States and now being established in some of the developing countries. Why are we not prepared to keep pace with modern developments? I am sure this time it will, Mr. Speaker, fall on fertile ground. The farmers have to be in organizations. The organizations not only assist in the marketing of the produce of the farmers within the area, but also provide an avenue for seeking funds from international agencies for the development of their communities. The agroeconomic zone is the hub where you will have grading, packaging, processing, drying facilities, cold storage, abattoirs, etc. All produce from the farmer will be taken to the zone by a refrigerated truck, which will be registered for that specific purpose. Fruits and vegetables that are usually left in the field or drop off the trees and spoil would also be taken into the complex for processing. The farmer therefore increases his income because the higgler who makes 100% profit on the produce by just carrying it to the end user will be eliminated. All end users will purchase their produce from the zones and be given an invoice or cash or charge receipt. Inspectors will be deployed to inspect all end users of agricultural produce. These end users must provide the proof of purchase from the complex, or else we are going to be putting in place that they be fined up to $3 million. Mr. Speaker, our plan is that there will be 4 or 5 agroeconomic zones established throughout the island. And these would be public, privately owned, and privately operated, or privately owned and operated. With this structure, the farmers would have a ready market for their produce, which would encourage farmers to expand their production and entice new entrants to the agricultural sector. It is felt that under this system, prix larceny would be curtailed by about 70%. Mr. Speaker, there is a company that also has the vision that I speak of and has indicated an interest in establishing one of these agroeconomic zones on the eastern end of the island. If they are successful in negotiating with these different government agencies by the end of this year, early next year, they could start construction to set up this agroeconomic zone. Cost is over $40 million. There's also another proposal to have one of these, a public-private ownership, but privately operated on the south coast, This one we hope will begin operations on a limited scale next year. Mr. Speaker, in closing, let me assure you and the nation that agriculture is poised for tremendous growth. And this growth will be the stimulus for the growth in the economy. Mr. Speaker, our commitment is to drive the development of the agricultural sector by pursuing the following initiatives this year. This is setting the foundation for a greater expansion of the sector next year. Number one, organic farming. We'll be doing 50 acres, providing soil conservation and providing greater income to the farmer. The school gardens, 196 school gardens, providing training for students and farmers and facilitating the introduction or expansion of the breakfast program in schools. The Posterity Tree program, to provide excellent quality fruits for the market and assist in climate change. The Herbal Plants program, providing a niche market for our herbs with the establishment of 50 additional acres. Processing facilities for training and expansion of the value chain for fruits, vegetables, and tubers. Proposal for the procurement of drones for assisting in agricultural development and national security. Further development of the agro-parks for expanded agricultural production. Expansion of the water supply system at Hounslow and the rehabilitation of the road network. The establishment of production zones at Springground, Colbeck, and Hounslow. Revitalization of the production and marketing organizations as the base for the traceability of agricultural goods from farmers to the end users. Reactivation of the farmers' market. Mr. Speaker, the quality of your life depends on the vision of your thoughts. Agriculture is positioning itself to be the catalyst for growth in the Jamaican economy. For the country to grow, agriculture has to grow. And we intend to make a big statement starting this year. We intend to move from the concentration of primary products to the value chain. I therefore say once again, we intend to not just grow what you eat and eat what you grow. We intend to develop the value chain in this country. We intend to move the value chain from the primary products where we go into processing. Our motto is therefore going to be, grow what you eat what you can what you can. May God's richest blessing enrich our lives, and may prosperity engulf our understandings in order to facilitate the development of our blessed country. I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen.